My wife said, "I'm taking a girls' spa trip to Miami this weekend. You're not invited." I replied, "Have a great time." Then her mom called me asking why I wasn't going with them on their couple's vacation. When I sent her mom the screenshots of her girls' spa trip group chat that included her ex-lover. Look, I'm not saying I'm some kind of relationship genius or anything, but I've watched enough true crime documentaries to know when something's fishy. And Tuesday night, sitting across from my wife at our kitchen table with takeout containers scattered between us like casualties of war, I got hit with a sentence so completely bizarre that my brain literally needed to restart like an old Windows computer. "I'm taking a girls' spa trip to Miami this weekend," Sabrina said, twirling lo mein around her fork like she was announcing what she'd had for lunch. Then came the kicker: "You're not invited." Now, here's the thing about that statement. It wasn't the words themselves that made my internal alarm system start blaring like a car dealership going out of business. It was the delivery. She said it the same way you'd tell someone the sky is blue or that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. Just this completely casual, matter-of-fact tone that suggested this was the most normal thing in the entire world. No. "Hey honey, what do you think about me taking a trip?" No. "Would you be okay if I went away for the weekend?" Nothing. Just a cold, confident declaration that I was specifically, deliberately, not invited to this magical mystery spa tour, delivered with all the warmth of a parking ticket. We'd been married for 5 years at that point, together for 7 total, if you count the dating phase where we actually pretended to like each other's friends. And in all that time, Sabrina had never once expressed interest in a girls' spa weekend. This is a woman who thought a facial meant washing your face with whatever soap was on sale at Target. Her idea of self-care was buying the expensive wine instead of the box stuff. And now suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, she's got this solo spa energy? Something smelled off, and I'm pretty damn sure it wasn't eucalyptus oil and lavender candles. I'm not an idiot, despite what my college GPA might suggest, so naturally I asked some follow-up questions. Basic stuff, you know? Like who's going, where exactly in Miami, what spa, when's she leaving, when's she coming back? The kind of questions any normal human being would ask when their spouse announces a spontaneous trip to another state. And man, you'd think I'd asked her to explain quantum physics while juggling chainsaws based on her reaction. She rolled her eyes so hard I'm surprised they didn't get stuck facing her brain. Though given what happened later, I'm not convinced there was much up there to look at. God, Owen, do I need your permission to breathe now? She snapped, dropping her fork with this dramatic clatter that would have made a soap opera actress proud. No, I said, trying to keep my voice level even though my bullshit detector was going absolutely haywire. Just wondering when the spa started requiring high heels and club dresses. Because yeah, I'd noticed her packing choices when I'd walked past the bedroom earlier. Unless there's some new spa treatment called dress like you're hitting the nightclub at 2 a.m., something wasn't adding up. She didn't laugh. Shocking, I know. Instead, she gave me this look that could have frozen hell over, muttered something about me being controlling and paranoid, and went back to her phone. And here's where I probably should have pushed harder, should have demanded real answers, should have done that whole, "we need to talk" thing that couples are supposed to do when trust starts cracking like cheap tile. But you know what? I was tired. Tired of the attitude, tired of the eye rolls, tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells in my own damn house. So I did what any self-respecting guy would do when faced with a situation that screamed, "This is gonna blow up" in someone's face. I let her go. I smiled. One of those smiles people wear when they're about to watch fireworks from what they hope is a safe distance, and said, "Have a great time, babe." The rest of the week was actually pretty peaceful, if I'm being honest. She was busy packing and texting and doing whatever mysterious pre-trip stuff she was doing, and I was content to binge-watch my shows without commentary about how murder documentaries are depressing. She left Friday morning with a suitcase that looked like she was moving to Miami permanently rather than going for a weekend spa retreat. Gave me a quick peck on the cheek that felt about as genuine as a politician's promise, and bounced out the door with an "I'll text you when I land" that we both knew she probably wouldn't follow through on. I spent Friday night doing absolutely nothing productive, ordered pizza, drank beer, watched 3 episodes of that new true crime series about the guy who faked his own death. It was glorious. Saturday morning rolled around, and I was living my best temporary bachelor life, sitting on the couch in my boxers, working through a bowl of cereal that was definitely more sugar than grain, and watching another documentary about financial fraud. This is what peak male happiness looks like, folks. No drama, no attitude, just me, my frosted flakes, and learning about people who embezzled millions from their companies. And then my phone rang. Not a text, not an email, an actual phone call, which in this day and age basically means someone died or something's gone catastrophically wrong. I looked at the screen and saw it was Linda, Sabrina's mom. And for a split second, I had that panic moment of, oh God, what happened? But when I answered, she was cheerful as Sunday morning sunshine, which somehow made what came next even worse. Hey, sweetheart. She chirped, using that mom voice that usually preceded questions about grandchildren we weren't having. Just checking what time you two are landing today. I've got the beach house all stocked up with wine and snacks, and Frank picked up that craft beer you like. I nearly inhaled my spoon. The cereal milk went down the wrong pipe, and I started coughing like a 60-year-old smoker while my brain tried to process what she'd just said. Landing? Beach house? Wine and snacks? What the actual hell was happening? Landing. I managed to choke out between coughs, setting down my bowl before I could drown myself in artificially flavored milk. Linda, Sabrina said she's on a girls' spa trip. You know, face masks, cucumber water, overpriced massages, the whole 9 yards. The silence that followed was the kind that makes your butthole clench. You know that moment in horror movies right before something jumps out? Yeah, it was exactly like that, except instead of a monster, I was about to face something far more terrifying. A mother-in-law who just realized her daughter was a lying piece of work. Then came the inhale. Not just any inhale, mind you, but the kind of sharp, aggressive breath that mothers make right before they unleash the kind of divine wrath that makes God himself take notes. I'd heard Linda do this exactly twice before. Once when Sabrina's sister Tessa got a tattoo at 17, and once when she found out her husband Frank had donated her vintage china to Goodwill. Both times, the aftermath had been legendary. This time, I had a front row seat to what was about to be an absolute nuclear meltdown, and I wasn't even sure I was ready for it. She told me, Linda said, her voice dropping about 3 octaves into that dangerous mom zone where every word sounds like a death threat wrapped in silk, that you two were joining us for a couple's vacation. She said you had some big work thing on Friday, so you couldn't fly out with her, but that you'd be landing today around noon, and we'd all have a nice family weekend at the beach house. I'm pretty sure my soul left my body right then. I was just floating somewhere above my couch, looking down at myself sitting there in my ratty boxers and my college t-shirt with the mysterious stain I'd given up trying to identify, watching my entire marriage implode via speakerphone. My brain was doing mental gymnastics trying to figure out how my wife could simultaneously be on a girls' spa trip and a couple's vacation with her parents. Last time I checked, quantum physics didn't apply to lying spouses, but apparently Sabrina had found a loophole. She's not with you? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Sometimes you ask stupid questions because your brain is still buffering, trying to load the reality of the situation while your mouth just makes sounds to fill the awkward silence. No, Linda's voice had gone from dangerous to full-on prosecutorial. I could practically see her pacing around her beach house kitchen, probably wearing one of those floral sundresses she always wore on vacation, gesturing wildly with her free hand the way she did when she got worked up. She said you were flying down later. Owen, what the hell is going on? Where's my daughter? That's when my stomach dropped harder than the stock market in 2008. Faster than my GPA when I discovered beer in sophomore year. More sudden than my faith in humanity after working retail for exactly one Christmas season. Pick your metaphor. They all applied to the sick, twisting sensation happening in my gut right at that moment. Linda, I said slowly, my true crime documentary still playing in the background like the world's most ironic soundtrack. I need to call you back in 5 minutes. Please don't call Sabrina yet. Just give me 5 minutes. Owen, 5 minutes. I promise I'll explain everything. I hung up before she could argue, which was probably the bravest thing I'd done all year, and immediately grabbed my laptop. My hands were shaking like I'd mainlined espresso as I opened Instagram, which I barely used except to look at food pictures and pretend I had a social life. I typed in Sabrina's username, at Sabrina Lives Laughs, because of course it was something that basic, and clicked on her story. And there it was. There she fucking was. My wife, my supposedly at a spa getting pampered wife, in all her cheating glory, posted for the entire world to see because apparently she thought I was too stupid to check social media. The first story was a boomerang, because nothing says, "I'm a lying cheat," quite like a boomerang, of a champagne glass clinking against another champagne glass. Fancy place too, with those floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the Miami skyline glittering in the background. The kind of place that doesn't serve cucumber water and provide fluffy robes. I tapped to the next story, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it over the sound of the TV. This one was a selfie, and Jesus Christ, if I'd had any doubt before, it evaporated faster than my respect for her. Sabrina was wearing this tight black dress that I'd never seen before. Must have been a special purchase for her special trip, with her hair all done up and makeup that definitely wasn't spa retreat casual. She had that fake candid smile, you know the one, where they're trying to look like they're not posing, but you can tell they took about 40 shots to get the right angle. But that wasn't even the worst part. Oh no, the worst part was the arm. There was definitely a man's arm around her waist, visible just enough in the edge of the frame that you knew it was intentional, like she wanted people to know she was with someone, but was playing coy about who. And on that arm, visible as day, was a tattoo. Not just any tattoo. A compass with some Latin phrase underneath that I'd spent 2 years of my life having to look at every time we went to family gatherings. Mason, her ex-boyfriend. The gym rat philosopher who thought protein powder was a personality trait. The guy who'd once legitimately, with a straight face, said to me at Sabrina's cousin's wedding that protein shakes are a form of love language, and expected me to take him seriously. The same Mason who'd tried to get Sabrina back for 6 months after we started dating, sending her those "I miss you" texts at 2 a.m. like some kind of emotional vampire who fed on drama and pre-workout supplements. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, watching the story replay automatically, the champagne glasses clinking in their endless loop like some kind of mockery. My cereal was getting soggy in the bowl next to me. The documentary narrator was talking about someone embezzling $3 million from their company. And my wife was in Miami, dressed like she was auditioning for a rap video, with her ex-boyfriend's tattooed arm around her waist, while simultaneously telling me she was at a spa and telling her parents we were on a couple's vacation together. The audacity, the sheer, unmitigated, Olympic-level audacity of this woman. She'd lied to everyone. Me, her parents, probably her friends too, and then posted evidence of her lie on social media like she was immune to consequences. Like I was too dumb to figure it out. Like her mom wouldn't call. Like the internet didn't exist. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. This was fine. Everything was fine. My marriage was imploding via Instagram story. My mother-in-law was probably having an aneurysm in Florida, and I was sitting in my boxers eating soggy cereal while watching a documentary about fraud. The irony wasn't lost on me. I picked up my phone to call Linda back, my hand still shaking, but now for a completely different reason. That initial shock was wearing off, and underneath it? Oh man, underneath it was something that felt a lot like cold, calculated anger mixed with the kind of clarity you only get when someone shows you exactly who they are and you finally believe them. This was going to be one hell of a phone call. I called Linda back, and before I could even get a full sentence out, she was already in full interrogation mode. "Owen Michael Patterson, you tell me what's happening right now, or so help me God." "Linda, I'm sending you screenshots," I interrupted, pulling up the Instagram stories again and taking rapid-fire photos with my phone like I was documenting a crime scene. Which, let's be honest, I kind of was. "Check your messages. I just found out about this literally 2 minutes before you called." I sent her 3 screenshots. The champagne boomerang, the selfie with Mason's tattooed arm, and for good measure, a third story I'd found showing Sabrina and Mason at what looked like some trendy Miami restaurant. Both of them laughing at something with the kind of body language that screamed, "We're definitely hooking up later." Then I sat back and waited for the explosion, phone held slightly away from my ear because I knew what was coming. The silence lasted maybe 15 seconds. Then, that lying little, followed by a string of words I didn't know Linda even knew, let alone would use. I'm talking curse words in English, Spanish, and what might have been some Italian she'd picked up from her grandmother. It was honestly impressive. If there were Olympics for creative profanity, Linda would have taken home gold, silver, and bronze. "I'm going to kill her," Linda said, and she sounded so calm about it that it was actually more terrifying than the yelling. I'm going to absolutely murder her. Frank, get in here right now. I heard muffled sounds of her husband asking what was wrong, followed by Linda's rapid-fire explanation that included phrases like lying to everyone, her ex-boyfriend, and I raised her better than this. Frank's response was just one long, "Oh shit," drawn out like he was watching a building collapse in slow motion. "Owen, sweetheart," Linda said, and the fact that she was back to calling me sweetheart while simultaneously plotting her daughter's demise was somehow both comforting and deeply unsettling. "I need you to send me everything. Every screenshot, every message, every piece of evidence you have. Mama's cooking something up, and it's not going to be pretty." Now, I should probably mention that Linda isn't just any mom. She's a retired high school principal who once made a grown man cry during a parent-teacher conference. She ran that school like a benevolent dictator for 25 years, and her reputation for not taking anyone's crap was legendary. When she said she was cooking something up, I knew whatever was about to happen would be both swift and absolutely devastating. "What are you going to do?" I asked, part of me genuinely curious, part of me slightly terrified that I was about to become an accessory to whatever nuclear option she was planning. "You'll see," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Not a happy smile, more like the smile a chess master has right before they say checkmate. "Just send me everything you've got." So I did. I sent her the Instagram stories, screenshots of Sabrina's last few posts, and for good measure, I sent her the text messages from earlier in the week where Sabrina had been very specific about this being a girls-only, no boys allowed spa weekend. I even included the message where she told me not to blow up her phone while she was trying to relax and find herself. Finding herself, apparently, meant finding her way back to her ex's hotel room. Linda's response came back in 30 seconds flat. "Received. Lock and load. And Owen, you might want to grab some popcorn for this." By noon, and I'm talking 12:05, not even a full hour after my initial call to Linda, my phone started blowing up. First it was Sabrina's sister, Tessa, who I actually liked because she was the only sane person in that family besides Linda and Frank. Her text just said, Dude, check mom's Facebook. You might want to sit down first." I didn't have Facebook. I deleted it years ago after deciding I didn't need to see my high school classmates' pyramid scheme pitches or their unsolicited political rants. But I created a burner account faster than you can say social media dumpster fire, searched for Linda's profile, and holy mother of God. Linda hadn't just confronted Sabrina. She hadn't just made a post. She had created what I can only describe as a masterpiece of public humiliation, a Mona Lisa of maternal disappointment, a Sistine Chapel ceiling of "you done messed up." The post had photos, all the screenshots I'd sent her, arranged in a neat little collage, with a caption that would go down in Facebook history. "When your daughter lies to her husband about a spa trip, lies to her parents about a couple's vacation, and takes her ex-boyfriend on a secret Miami getaway instead, remember, mud masks can't fix moral decay. Disappointed doesn't even begin to cover it. Betrayal, lies, and disrespect to everyone who loves her. Mason, you can have her. Owen, you deserve so much better. Hashtag truth hurts, hashtag not the spa day I expected, hashtag raised her better than this." I had to read it 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Linda had tagged Sabrina. She'd tagged Mason. She'd tagged me. She'd made the post public. Not friends only, not limited audience. Public. As in, anyone with an internet connection could see it. And people were seeing it. Oh man, were they seeing it. The post had been up for less than an hour and already had over 300 reactions and counting. The comments section looked like a stadium full of people with popcorn watching the show. Sabrina's aunts were in there expressing shock and disappointment. Her old high school friends were commenting with variations of "OMG, I can't believe this." Random people I'd never even heard of were weighing in with their hot takes. Someone's grandmother had commented "shame on her" with 6 angry face emojis. But the best part? The absolute cherry on top of this chaos Sunday. Mason's girlfriend. Because yes, apparently Mason had a girlfriend, which made this whole thing even more disgusting, had jumped into the comments section with receipts of her own. Her name was Jordan, and she came in hot with screenshots showing Mason had told her he was going to a fitness convention in Miami. She'd posted texts where he'd explicitly said he was going alone, that it was for work, that she shouldn't worry. So let me get this straight. Jordan had commented, and I could feel the rage through the screen. He told me he was at a work conference. She told her husband she was at a spa, and they told her parents they were on vacation together. The audacity. The absolute audacity of these two idiots. The comments under Jordan's revelation were multiplying like rabbits. People were living for this drama. Someone had made a meme already. A Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man template with the caption, "People who got lied to about the Miami trip." I wanted to be mad about becoming an internet joke, but honestly, it was kind of funny. In a dark, my life is imploding kind of way. Tessa commented, "Mom, I love you, but holy shit, you went scorched earth," with a string of fire emojis. Linda's response, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." She's a grown woman who made grown woman choices. Now she gets to deal with grown woman consequences. Even Frank had commented, which was wild because Frank barely knew how to turn on a computer. "Very disappointed in you, Sabrina. Owen, you're still welcome at Thanksgiving." I sat there on my couch, soggy cereal completely forgotten, just refreshing the post every 30 seconds, watching the carnage unfold in real time. The share count was up to 57. People were sharing this. Sabrina's friends were seeing it. Her co-workers were probably seeing it. Hell, at this rate, the entire state of Florida would know about her fake spa trip by dinner time. My phone buzzed with another text from Tessa. She's going to lose her mind when she sees this. Mom blocked her number, so she can't even call to beg her to take it down. This is the most savage thing I've ever witnessed, and honestly, she deserves it. I couldn't even argue. For once in my life, I didn't have to be the bad guy. I didn't have to do anything. Karma wasn't just working. She'd clocked in for a full shift, and she'd brought reinforcements. By evening, my phone had become less of a communication device and more of a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. The Facebook post was still going strong, now with over 600 reactions and a comment section that had devolved into people sharing their own cheating spouse stories. Someone's aunt had commented about her ex-husband running off with her yoga instructor. A random dude named Kevin had shared a 3-paragraph essay about trust and betrayal. It was beautiful chaos, and I was here for all of it. Then my phone rang with Sabrina's ringtone. I'd set it to the Imperial March from Star Wars as a joke 6 months ago, and wow, had that turned out to be prophetic, and I actually laughed out loud before answering. I put it on speaker because there was no way I was missing a second of what was about to go down, and I wanted both hands free in case I needed to start taking notes for the inevitable divorce proceedings. "What did you do?" Sabrina screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Dogs in a 3-block radius probably started howling. Glass somewhere probably cracked. It was the kind of scream that would make a horror movie director say, "Okay, maybe tone it down a bit." "Me," I said, settling back into my couch like I was getting comfortable for a movie. "I haven't done anything. I've been sitting here all day watching documentaries and eating cereal. Living my best life, really. Don't play dumb with me, Owen. You went through my messages. You sent screenshots to my mother. You violated my privacy. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The audacity, and I cannot stress this enough. The sheer, unfiltered, weapons-grade audacity of this woman never ceased to amaze me. Here she was, caught red-handed with her ex-boyfriend in Miami after lying to literally everyone in her life. And somehow, I was the villain in this story. It was like watching someone set their own house on fire and then getting mad at the neighbor for calling 911. "Funny how you skipped right over the lying and cheating part," I said, examining my fingernails like I was bored. And honestly, I kind of was. The shock had worn off. The anger had settled into this cold, calm clarity, and now I was just watching her dig her own grave with the determination of someone who'd bought a really expensive shovel and was determined to get her money's worth. "I didn't cheat," she shrieked, and I could hear Miami traffic in the background. She was probably pacing around outside whatever hotel she and Mason were staying at, probably drawing stares from tourists who were getting way more entertainment than they'd paid for. "Mason and I are just friends. We ran into each other and decided to hang out. That's not cheating. Right, I said, nodding even though she couldn't see me. "You just happened to run into your ex-boyfriend in Miami. The same Miami you specifically traveled to. The same ex-boyfriend whose arm was around your waist in your Instagram story. The same guy you're wearing a club dress for at what looks like a very romantic dinner. Total coincidence. I'm sure that kind of thing happens all the time. You're twisting everything. God, you're so controlling. You've always been jealous of Mason. I actually laughed at that one. Jealous of Mason? The guy who tried to sell me on his cryptocurrency investment scheme at Christmas dinner? The guy who posted gym selfies with captions like grinding for greatness and no days off, just gains? That Mason? Sure, Sabrina. I'm super jealous of a guy whose entire personality is protein powder and inspirational quotes he found on Instagram. This is exactly why I needed time away from you, she yelled, and I could hear her voice getting that hysterical edge that usually meant she was about to cry. Not real crying. Mind you, the tactical kind she deployed when logic wasn't working and she needed to switch strategies. You're suffocating me. You're always questioning me. You never trust me. Well, gee, I wonder why, I said dryly. It's almost like you lied about where you were going, who you were with, and what you were doing. But sure, I'm the problem for noticing. I can't believe you sent those screenshots to my mother. Do you have any idea what you've done to my reputation? She posted everything on Facebook. Facebook, Owen. Everyone I know has seen it. My coworkers, my friends, my entire family. You've ruined my life. No, sweetheart, I said, and I made sure to put extra emphasis on the sarcasm in that pet name. You ruined your own life. I just had a conversation with your mother. She's the one who decided to go full nuclear option on social media. And honestly, can you blame her? You lied to her face. Told her we were coming down for a couple's vacation while you were actually hooking up with your ex. That's not on me. That's all you. You could have stopped her. You could have told her not to post it. I sat up a little straighter at that one, because the sheer delusion was actually impressive. Oh, so now I'm supposed to protect you from the consequences of your own actions? That's rich. Let me get this straight. You want me to lie to your mother to cover up your lies about lying? Do you hear yourself right now? There was a pause, and I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end. In the background, I heard a male voice say, "Babe, just hang up." And I had to bite back another laugh because Mason was there, listening to this whole thing, probably realizing he'd hitched his wagon to the Titanic and the iceberg was dead ahead. You've ruined my trip, Sabrina wailed. And yep, there were the tactical tears right on schedule. I came here to relax and find myself, and you've made it a nightmare. Oh, I'm so sorry, I said, laying the sarcasm on thick enough to spread on toast. Did your couple's retreat with Mason not include a getting caught package? That's usually an add-on. You should complain to the hotel. I hate you, she screamed. I hate you so much. You're a terrible husband. You've never supported me. All you do is judge me and make me feel bad about myself. Sabrina, the only person making you feel bad about yourself is you. I'm just sitting here eating cereal and answering phone calls. You're the one who decided to lie to everyone. Take your ex-boyfriend to Miami and then post about it on Instagram like you were immune to consequences. That's not me being a terrible husband. That's you being a terrible person. She made this sound that was half scream, half sob, the audio equivalent of a toddler throwing themselves on the floor of a grocery store because mom said no to candy. You know what? Fine. Keep the apartment. Keep everything. I don't need you. I don't need any of you. Mason and I are going to. You're going to what? I interrupted. Run away together? Start a new life? Babe, Mason's girlfriend already posted screenshots of him planning this trip behind her back. He's about to be just as homeless as you are. You two can get a cardboard box together. Very romantic. His girlfriend doesn't understand him like I do. And there it was. The delusion had reached critical mass. She'd actually said the thing that every cheater says, the cliché so overused it should come with an eye-roll warning. I'd heard this exact phrase in approximately 75% of the true crime documentaries I'd watched, usually right before everything fell apart spectacularly. Right, I said. I'm sure you two will be very happy together. Look, I've got a documentary to get back to, so unless you're calling to apologize, which I know you're not, I think we're done here. We are not done. We're married. You can't just... Actually, funny thing about that, I said, standing up and walking to the kitchen to finally throw away my cereal bowl that had been sitting there for way too long. My best friend from college? Jake? Yeah, he became a divorce lawyer. We're getting lunch tomorrow. Should be a very productive meeting. The silence that followed was the kind you could cut with a knife. Then, you wouldn't. Watch me, I said cheerfully. Enjoy the rest of your spa trip. Or couple's vacation. Or whatever you're calling it this week. Try the mud masks. I hear they're great for moral decay. I hung up before she could respond, and it felt better than anything had felt in months. Maybe years. That cold clarity I'd been feeling all day, it had crystallized into something sharper, cleaner. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. My phone immediately started ringing again. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. Then came the texts, rapid fire, each one more desperate and angry than the last. I didn't read them. Just watched the notifications pile up like snow, each one a tiny little monument to her panic. 10 minutes later, Mason's girlfriend Jordan posted her own masterpiece on the Facebook thread. It was a screenshot compilation of Mason confessing everything. How he'd been planning the trip for weeks, how Sabrina had reached out to him first, how they'd hooked up twice before the Miami trip even happened. She'd included texts, Instagram DMs, even a voice message where Mason was basically bragging to his gym buddy about rekindling old flames. The comments exploded. Sabrina's spa girls, the friends she'd supposedly been traveling with, were getting tagged and roasted alive. People were demanding answers. Someone found Brianna's boyfriend on Facebook and sent him the post. Tessa commented that their entire extended family group chat had imploded into chaos. For once in my life, I didn't have to lift a single finger. I didn't have to be the bad guy, didn't have to defend myself, didn't have to convince anyone of anything. The truth was out there, documented and receipted, and Karma wasn't just working overtime. She'd apparently called in the entire night shift. I ordered pizza, cracked open a beer, and settled in to watch the show. Best Saturday night I'd had in years. Monday morning hit different. You know that feeling when you wake up and for about 3 seconds everything's normal, and then reality slams into you like a freight train made of your own poor life choices? Except this time, the poor life choices weren't mine, and that made all the difference. I woke up at 7, made coffee that didn't taste like betrayal, and sat at my kitchen table making a to-do list that would have made my therapist proud, if I'd had a therapist, which maybe I should have considered years ago. Number 1 on that list, change the locks. Now, I know what you're thinking. Owen, isn't that a bit extreme? Shouldn't you at least wait until you talk to a lawyer? And normally, yeah, you'd be right. But here's the thing about having your spouse publicly exposed as a cheater on Facebook with over 1,000 reactions and counting, it clarifies things. It's like getting prescription glasses after years of squinting. Suddenly everything's in perfect focus, and what I saw was crystal clear. My wife had lied to everyone, cheated with her ex, and was probably going to come back swinging when she realized her whole life had imploded faster than a cryptocurrency scam. I called a locksmith at 8 a.m. Guy named Tommy who showed up at 9:30 in a van that looked like it had seen better decades. He was probably in his 50s, wearing a tool belt that had more personality than most people I knew. And he took one look at me standing there in my pajama pants and coffee-stained t-shirt and said, "Divorce or roommate situation?" "How'd you know?" I asked, genuinely curious about his detective skills. "Brother, I've been doing this for 30 years. Monday morning, Guy answers the door looking like he hasn't slept. First thing he says is he needs all the locks changed ASAP. It's either divorce or you pissed off the mob. And you don't look like mob material, no offense. None taken. It's divorce. Well, impending divorce. Currently in the my wife is in Miami with her ex-boyfriend while the entire internet roasts her alive phase. Tommy whistled low and long. Ouch. Yeah, you definitely want new locks. Had a lady last year. Changed her locks. Ex-husband tried to break in through the window instead. Had to come back and install bars. You want me to check your windows while I'm at it? Let's start with the locks and see how the week goes, I said, which in retrospect was probably the most reasonable thing I'd said in 72 hours. Tommy got to work, and I sat on my couch watching him drill and swap out hardware while I scrolled through the continued Facebook carnage. Linda's post was still going viral. Someone had screenshot it and posted it on Twitter, where it had gotten picked up by one of those drama accounts that just shares messy stories. The tweet had 30,000 likes. My wife's fake spa trip had gone national. You really couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. My phone buzzed with a Venmo notification. $300 from Frank. Linda's husband, Sabrina's stepdad, and genuinely one of the nicest guys I'd ever met. The note attached said, "For the locksmith. Consider it reparations for raising her with Linda's first husband's genes. You're a good man. Call if you need anything." I actually got a little choked up at that, not gonna lie. Frank had been in my life for 5 years, always treating me like the son he never had, teaching me how to fix basic stuff around the house, giving me advice about marriage that I clearly should have followed more closely. And here he was, sending me money to lock his stepdaughter out of my apartment while she was in Miami pretending to be at a spa. The man was a saint. I sent him back a text. "Frank, you didn't have to do this. But thank you. Seriously." His response came quick. "I absolutely did. Linda's still mad she can't ground Sabrina anymore. This is the next best thing. Also, you're still coming to the Super Bowl party in February, right? We got a bet going on the spread." God, I loved Frank. Tommy finished up around 11, handing me 3 shiny new keys and a receipt that Frank's $300 covered perfectly. "Good luck, man," he said, packing up his tools. "And hey, if she tries anything crazy, you got my number. I also do security consultations." "I'll keep that in mind," I said, genuinely meaning it. By noon, I'd packed up all of Sabrina's stuff into boxes, 15 of them, neatly labeled and stacked by the door like the world's saddest game of Tetris. Her clothes, her shoes, her collection of scented candles that had made our apartment smell like a Bath and Body Works had exploded, all of it sorted and ready to go. I even included the expensive blender she'd bought for her health journey that lasted approximately 4 days before she went back to drinking Starbucks for breakfast. That's when my phone lit up with a text from Sabrina. "Flight lands at 6 p.m. We need to talk when I get home." The audacity was still at Olympic levels. We need to talk. Like she was coming home from a normal business trip instead of a weekend of lies and infidelity. Like I was going to be sitting there waiting with open arms and a forgiveness speech prepared. Like the entire internet hadn't just watched her get exposed as a cheater. I typed back, "Your things are packed. Arrange pickup. Locks are changed." 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. This went on for a solid 2 minutes. Finally, "You can't be serious." "Dead serious. You made your choices. I'm making mine. Owen, we need to talk face to face. I can explain everything." No explanation needed. I saw the Instagram stories. So did your mom. So did approximately 2,000 people on Facebook. Pretty self-explanatory. This is my home too. I looked around the apartment that I'd been renting for 3 years before I even met Sabrina, the apartment where only my name was on the lease, the apartment that I'd stupidly let her move into because I thought we were building a life together. "Check the lease," I typed back. "Your name's not on it." Never was. The 3 dots did their little dance again. Then my phone rang. I declined it. It rang again. Declined. Then came a voice message that I deleted without listening to, followed by about 15 texts that got progressively more angry and desperate, which I also didn't read. I was done. That cold clarity from Saturday night, it had settled in permanently, like concrete hardening into something solid and unshakable. 6:30 rolled around, and I was making dinner. Just some pasta, nothing fancy, when I heard it. The sound of a key trying to fit into a lock that no longer matched. Scratch, scratch, jiggle, curse. Then pounding. "Owen, open this door." I took my time walking over, looked through the peephole. There was Sabrina, mascara already running down her face like she'd been crying on the plane, still wearing her Miami outfit, her suitcase behind her looking almost as defeated as she did. "Owen, please. We need to talk." "Your stuff's packed," I called through the door. "You can arrange to pick it up later. I'm not doing this right now. You can't lock me out. This is my home too. I live here. Your name's not on the lease, Sabrina. And last I checked, infidelity doesn't come with a spare key." That's when she really lost it. The pounding got louder, more frantic. She was full-on wailing now, the kind of public breakdown that makes neighbors peek through their blinds. Mrs. Chun from 3B cracked her door open, took one look at the situation, and quickly closed it again. Even she knew this was a mess not worth getting involved in. "I'm calling the police," Sabrina screamed. "Go ahead," I called back, returning to my pasta because at this point, what else was I going to do? Let it overcook? I'd lost a wife. I wasn't about to lose dinner too. 10 minutes later, just enough time for me to drain the pasta and start on my sauce. There was a knock at the door. More professional this time. I looked through the peephole and saw 2 officers, one looking bored, one looking like he'd already figured out what kind of call this was. I opened the door. "Evening, officers." "Sir, we got a call about a domestic dispute," the bored one said, already sounding like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. "Not really a dispute," I said. "My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, is upset that I changed the locks after she spent the weekend in Miami with her ex-boyfriend." Her name's not on the lease. I've got her stuff packed and ready for pickup. That's about it. Sabrina pushed forward. He's throwing me out. This is my home. He can't just kick me out. The officer who'd been quiet pulled out a notepad. Ma'am, do you have any documentation showing this is your legal residence? Mail with your name at this address. Anything. I live here. My stuff is here. Was here. I corrected. It's in boxes now. Ready whenever you want to pick it up. Sir, can we see the lease? The board officer asked. I pulled it up on my phone. I'd gotten a digital copy years ago because I'm not a total mess, and showed it to him. One name. Mine. The officer looked at it, looked at Sabrina, sighed the sigh of a man who'd seen this exact scenario play out 100 times. Ma'am, this is a civil matter. The lease is in his name. Legally, he has the right to deny you entry. He glanced at me. Sir, she is entitled to collect her belongings. They're packed and ready, I said. She's welcome to take them whenever she wants. With supervision. He can't do this. Sabrina wailed. I have nowhere to go. The second officer, the one with the notepad, finally spoke up. His voice was dry as desert sand. Ma'am, respectfully, it seems like you threw yourself out. In Miami. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. The officer's comment hung in the air like the world's most perfect punchline, and I watched Sabrina's face go through about 17 different emotions in the span of 3 seconds. Shock, rage, indignation, more rage, a brief flicker of embarrassment, and then right back to rage because apparently that was her default setting now. The board officer was trying really hard not to smile, and honestly, I respected his professionalism because I was barely keeping it together myself. That's not. You can't just, Sabrina sputtered, pointing at the officer like he'd personally betrayed her by understanding basic cause and effect. This is police harassment. I'm being discriminated against. Ma'am, the notepad officer said, his patience clearly wearing thinner than gas station toilet paper. Discrimination requires a protected class. Cheated on spouse isn't one of them. You can collect your belongings at a mutually agreed upon time, or you can pursue this through civil court. Those are your options. Sabrina looked at me, mascara tracks making her look like a raccoon who'd had a really bad day, and I could see her cycling through her usual manipulation tactics. The tears had already failed. The righteous indignation wasn't landing. She was running out of plays, and we all knew it. Owen, please, she said, switching to the soft voice she used when she wanted something. Can we just talk? 5 minutes. I can explain everything. No, I said simply. Because you know what? I didn't need 5 minutes of her explaining how it wasn't what it looked like, or how Mason was just a friend, or how I was overreacting. I'd seen the Instagram stories. I'd seen her mother's Facebook post. I'd seen Mason's girlfriend's receipts. The entire internet had seen everything. There was nothing left to explain. Your things will be available for pickup tomorrow between 2 and 4 p.m., I continued. Bring someone to help you carry them. Don't bring Mason. Don't come alone. And definitely don't try using any keys you might have made copies of, because they won't work anymore. The board officer nodded approvingly. That sounds reasonable. Ma'am, I suggest you make arrangements. Sabrina opened her mouth like she was about to launch into another tirade, but the notepad officer cut her off. Ma'am, if you continue to cause a disturbance, we'll have to cite you for disturbing the peace. I suggest you leave the premises and handle this through proper channels. And that's how my wife ended up being escorted away from what used to be our apartment by 2 cops who looked like they'd rather be literally anywhere else. She grabbed her suitcase with the kind of dramatic flair usually reserved for soap operas, shot me a look that could have melted steel, and stomped off down the hallway while the officers followed at a respectful distance to make sure she actually left the building. Mrs. Chun cracked her door open again as they passed. I gave her a little wave. She gave me a thumbs up. I liked Mrs. Chun. I closed my door, locked it with my shiny new lock, and went back to my pasta, which was honestly still pretty good despite the interruption. I ate dinner in peace, watching some mindless cooking show where nobody was cheating on anyone, and the only drama was whether the souffle would rise. It was perfect. Around 8 p.m., I got a text from Linda. Frank just told me about the police. Please tell me you're okay. I'm great, I texted back. Eating pasta, watching cooking shows, living my best drama-free life. How are you guys? Sabrina showed up here about an hour ago, currently sobbing on our couch in her airport outfit. I told her she should have thought about accommodation before she went to Miami. Frank's in the garage organizing tools, which is code for avoiding the drama. I actually laughed out loud at that. Smart man. Tell him I said hi. Will do. Owen, I just want you to know, you handled this exactly right. I'm proud of you. You're too good for her. You always have been. Coming from Linda, that meant something. She wasn't the type to blow smoke or say things just to be nice. If Linda said you handled something right, you handled it right. Thanks, Linda. That means a lot. Anytime, sweetheart. Now I have to go deal with the drama queen on my couch. She's already threatened to sue me for emotional abuse for the Facebook post. Her father and I are thinking about framing that threat. Meanwhile, back in the digital Thunderdome, Sabrina had apparently decided that getting humiliated in person wasn't enough. She needed to take her show back to Instagram. I found out because Tessa texted me. Dude, check her stories. She's lost her damn mind. I opened Instagram with the kind of morbid curiosity you have when passing a car accident, and holy shit, Tessa wasn't exaggerating. Sabrina had posted a series of stories that could only be described as a masterclass in playing the victim. There she was, filmed in what I assumed was her parents' guest room, eyes red and puffy, makeup completely destroyed, talking directly to the camera like she was testifying in court. I just want everyone to know, she said, her voice doing that shaky thing that's supposed to make you feel sorry for her, that I'm a survivor of emotional manipulation and control. My husband has locked me out of my own home. He's turned my family against me, all because I wanted to take a weekend for myself to focus on my mental health. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. She'd gone from girls' spa trip to mental health weekend in the span of 4 days. And apparently that mental health weekend just happened to include her ex-boyfriend, club dresses, and champagne. Wild how that worked out. But here's where it got really good, the comment section. Because the internet was not having it. The first comment was from someone named at Reality Check Queen. Girl, didn't you literally post stories with your ex? We all saw them before you deleted them. The screenshots are eternal. Another one from Adramala McQueen. Self-care doesn't mean taking care of other people's boyfriends, babe. Someone named at Truthbombum wrote, your own mother exposed you on Facebook with receipts. Receipts. Maybe focus less on your mental health weekend and more on your moral health crisis. Even worse for Sabrina, her spa friends, the ones who were supposedly on this girl's trip with her, were getting absolutely torched in their own comment sections. Brianna, who'd apparently been covering for Sabrina, had been dumped by her boyfriend of 3 years after he found out she'd lied for her. She'd posted her own sob story about how friendship sometimes means protecting your girls, and the internet had collectively responded with friendship doesn't mean being an accomplice to cheating, you absolute doorknob. Tessa's husband had apparently sat her down for what she described as the most uncomfortable conversation of my life, where he'd asked point blank if she'd known about Mason. She'd sworn she didn't. And I actually believed her, because Tessa had always been the straight shooter of the family, but it had still caused a massive fight about loyalty and honesty that she was probably going to be dealing with for months. The real cherry on top of this chaos Sunday, though? Mason. Oh man, Mason's life had imploded faster than a cheap tent in a hurricane. His girlfriend Jordan hadn't just broken up with him. She'd posted a TikTok about the whole situation that had gone viral. Like, actually viral. 2 million views viral. She'd done this whole comedy sketch about signs your boyfriend is trash, using their actual text messages as props, and it was objectively hilarious. She'd even put together a PowerPoint presentation of red flags she'd ignored, complete with transition effects and everything. Mason had tried to defend himself in her comments, which was possibly the dumbest move he could have made. He'd written this long paragraph about how the situation is more complicated than it seems, and sometimes you have to follow your heart even if it hurts people, and basically every cliché line that cheaters use when they get caught. The internet had eaten him alive. Someone had even made a meme out of his gym selfies with the caption, when you're strong enough to lift weights, but not strong enough to be faithful. But the absolute best part? Mason's roommate had kicked him out, posted it on Twitter and everything. To the dude who's been sleeping on my couch for the past week. Your share of the rent is due. You're not on the lease, and I'm tired of your protein shake containers everywhere. You got 48 hours to find a new place. Hashtag get out, hashtag not my problem. So now Mason was homeless too, which meant both he and Sabrina were basically in the same boat. A boat that was rapidly sinking and on fire and also somehow full of scorpions. The poetic justice was so perfect it almost felt scripted. I scrolled through more comments on Sabrina's Instagram, each one more savage than the last. Someone had even found her LinkedIn and left a review on her company's page about employing people with questionable character, which was probably going too far, but also absolutely none of my business. The digital mob had taken over, and I was just sitting on my couch with my pasta, watching it all unfold like the world's messiest reality show. My phone buzzed with another text from Tessa. Mom just told Sabrina she can stay here for 1 week, and then she needs to figure out her life. Dad already has a countdown timer on his phone. This family is a circus, and I'm selling tickets. I sent back a laughing emoji because honestly, what else was there to say? The spa trip that was supposed to be Sabrina's secret getaway had turned into the most public disaster of the year, and I hadn't even had to do anything except change my locks and eat my feelings in carbohydrate form. Best decision I'd made in months. Tuesday afternoon rolled around with the kind of beautiful mundane energy I hadn't felt in years. No drama, no crying, no wife trying to gaslight me into thinking up was down and cheating was actually finding herself. Just me, my coffee, and a true crime podcast about a guy who'd embezzled money from a children's charity. You know, light listening material for a Tuesday. At exactly 2 p.m., because apparently even in crisis, Sabrina's family maintained their pathological need to be punctual, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Ryan, Tessa's younger brother, standing there looking like a man who'd drawn the absolute shortest straw in human history. He was 26, worked in IT, and had the general demeanor of someone who'd seen too much family drama and had developed a 1,000-yard stare as a coping mechanism. I opened the door, and Ryan immediately put his hands up like he was approaching a wild animal. Hey, before you say anything, I want you to know I think what she did is absolutely insane, and I'm only here because Mom threatened to cut me out of her will if I didn't help. I couldn't help but laugh. Man, come on in. You want a beer? I feel like you're gonna need one. His whole body sagged with relief. Oh, thank God. I thought you were gonna throw something at me. And yes, absolutely, I would love a beer. I've been listening to Sabrina cry for 2 days straight, and I'm pretty sure I'm developing some kind of PTSD. I grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, the good stuff, not the cheap cans I usually drank when I was alone, and handed him one. He took a long pull, and then looked at the 15 neatly labeled boxes I'd stacked by the door. Damn, you really went all out with the organization, huh? I had time, I said, shrugging. Plus, I didn't want her coming back later claiming I kept her stuff or damaged anything. Every box is labeled, everything's accounted for. I even bubble-wrapped her fancy plates. Ryan shook his head in what looked like genuine admiration. Dude, you're handling this way better than I would. If I found out my girlfriend was in Miami with her ex, I'd probably just set all her stuff on fire and call it a day. Oh, I thought about it, I admitted. Spent a good 20 minutes on Sunday Googling legal ways to destroy ex-spouse belongings before I remembered I'm not actually a psychopath. That's character growth right there, Ryan said, clinking his beer against mine. So, I gotta ask, and feel free to tell me to mind my own business, but did you have any idea? Like, were there signs, or did she just wake up one day and decide to nuke her entire life? I thought about it for a second, taking a sip of my beer. Honestly, looking back, yeah, there were signs. She'd been distant for a few months, always on her phone, got real defensive whenever I asked basic questions. But you know how it is. You're in it, you're making excuses, you're telling yourself everything's fine because the alternative is admitting your marriage is falling apart. It's easier to ignore red flags when you're colorblind from denial. Ryan nodded slowly. That's actually really insightful. You should write that down. I've had a lot of time to think over the past few days, I said. That, and I've been binge-watching psychology videos on YouTube at 3 a.m. because apparently my brain decided sleep was optional. Dude, same. Last night, I watched a 2-hour documentary about cults because I couldn't sleep. Now I'm convinced Sabrina's current mental state is basically cult member-level delusion. He paused, then added quickly, Sorry, I know she's your wife. Soon-to-be ex-wife, I corrected. And no, you're absolutely right. The mental gymnastics she's doing to make herself the victim in this situation could win her an Olympic gold medal. She posted on Instagram last night about being a survivor of emotional manipulation. The comments section tore her apart. Ryan pulled out his phone and scrolled for a second, then burst out laughing. Oh my God, I saw that. Someone commented self-care doesn't mean taking care of other people's boyfriends, and I genuinely snorted my coffee. My girlfriend asked me what was so funny, and I had to explain the entire saga. She now refers to Sabrina as the spa trip girl and wants to know when the Netflix documentary is coming out. Tell your girlfriend she's invited to the divorce party, I said. I'm thinking of making it themed. Maybe tropical betrayal, with little umbrella drinks and fake palm trees. I would absolutely attend that, Ryan said, grinning. Can we have a piñata shaped like a suitcase? We spent the next 20 minutes just talking about basketball, about his job, about the absolute circus that was his family right now. Apparently, Sabrina had spent the last 2 days at Linda and Frank's house alternating between crying fits and trying to convince anyone who'd listen that this was all a huge misunderstanding. She'd attempted to get her sister Tessa on her side, which had backfired spectacularly when Tessa had told her point-blank that she was delusional and needed therapy. The best part, Ryan said, leaning forward like he was sharing classified information, is that she's now threatening to sue Mom for emotional abuse because of the Facebook post. Mom's response was to print out the post, frame it, and hang it in the hallway. Dad's already taking bets on how long until Sabrina notices. I actually had to set my beer down because I was laughing so hard. Your mom is a savage, and I respect the hell out of her. She didn't become a high school principal for 25 years by being nice, Ryan said. She once made a grown man cry during a parent-teacher conference because his kid had cheated on a test. That woman has no chill, and honestly, it's kind of amazing to watch. Eventually, we got down to business and started loading boxes into Ryan's truck. He brought his girlfriend Sarah along, a small, cheerful woman with bright pink hair who took one look at the situation and said, "Oh honey, you're living your best life right now, aren't you?" With such genuine enthusiasm that I wanted to hug her. I really am, I admitted. It's been the most peaceful 3 days I've had in months. Good for you, Sarah said, helping Ryan lift a particularly heavy box of shoes. My ex cheated on me in college, and I spent way too long trying to make it work. Best thing I ever did was kick him to the curb and focus on myself. Now I'm with this idiot. She gestured at Ryan, and life is way better. Hey, Ryan protested, but he was smiling. You know I love you, babe, but you are objectively an idiot sometimes, Sarah said cheerfully. Remember when you tried to fix the garbage disposal with your bare hands? That was one time, and I learned my lesson. Watching them banter was actually kind of nice. It reminded me that functional relationships existed, that not everyone was secretly planning to run off to Miami with their ex. It was weirdly comforting. We got all 15 boxes loaded into the truck, which took about half an hour of Tetris-level strategic packing. Ryan secured everything with bungee cords while Sarah supervised and occasionally shouted helpful advice like, "Your left, your other left, and that's gonna fall if you don't secure it better." When we were done, Ryan handed me back the empty beer bottle and shook my head. Man, I'm really sorry you had to go through all this. For what it's worth, I always thought you were too good for her. You've always been chill as hell, and she's been. He paused, searching for the right word. A nightmare? I offered. I was going to say high maintenance, but yeah, nightmare works too. He clapped me on the shoulder. You're going to be fine, man. Better than fine. You dodged a grenade disguised as a candle, as my dad would say. Your dad's a smart man. He really is. He's already asked me if you're still coming to the Super Bowl party in February. I think he likes you more than he likes Sabrina at this point. Tell him I'll be there, I said. Wouldn't miss it. Sarah gave me a quick hug before they left. Stay strong, drink water, and remember that the best revenge is living well and also maybe getting a really good lawyer. I've got the lawyer covered, I assured her. Lunch with him tomorrow. Perfect. Make sure he's a shark. You want someone who'll go for blood. As they drove off with all of Sabrina's earthly possessions crammed into the back of Ryan's truck, I stood in my doorway feeling lighter than I had in years. The apartment was mine again. The drama was someone else's problem. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I actually felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. I went back inside, closed the door with my beautiful new lock, and ordered Chinese food because I'd earned it. My fortune cookie that night said, "New beginnings are often disguised as painful endings." Damn right they were. 3 days after the great box removal of Tuesday afternoon, I I was finally starting to feel like a normal human being again. I deep cleaned the apartment, getting rid of all the lingering traces of Sabrina. Those scented candles that made the place smell like a Valentine's Day gift shop had exploded, the decorative pillows that served no actual purpose except to be in the way, the weird motivational signs she'd hung up that said things like live, laugh, love, and good vibes only. Turns out when you remove all the passive-aggressive decor, an apartment can actually feel like a home instead of a Pinterest board having an identity crisis. I was in the middle of my second cup of coffee on Friday morning, contemplating whether I wanted to be productive or spend the entire day doing absolutely nothing, when I heard something slide under my door. Not a knock, not a ring of the doorbell, just the distinct sound of paper scraping against hardwood floor. Immediately, my spidey senses started tingling, because nothing good ever gets slid under your door. Bills, eviction notices, passive-aggressive notes from neighbors about your music being too loud. It's always bad news. I walked over and picked up what turned out to be an envelope. A fancy one, too. The kind you get at those overpriced stationery stores where a pack of cards costs more than a meal at a decent restaurant. My name was written on the front in Sabrina's handwriting, all curly and dramatic, like she was addressing an invitation to a royal wedding instead of delivering what I could only assume was going to be another exercise in mental gymnastics. I should have thrown it away right then. Should have tossed it in the trash without opening it, made myself breakfast, and gone about my day. But you know what? Curiosity killed the cat, and apparently I was feeling feline. I opened it. Dear Owen, it started, and I already knew this was going to be good in the worst possible way. I've had a lot of time to think over the past few days, and I want you to know that I understand you're upset. What happened in Miami was a misunderstanding that got blown completely out of proportion. Mason and I are just friends. We always have been. When I ran into him at the airport, completely by chance, I swear, we decided it would be nice to catch up. The girls encouraged me to lie about the spa trip because they thought you'd overreact. Which, let's be honest, you did. I had to stop reading for a second because I was pretty sure my brain was having an aneurysm. She ran into him at the airport by chance. The airport in Miami? The city she specifically flew to? And somehow this chance encounter resulted in club dresses, champagne, and his arm around her waist in Instagram stories? The math wasn't mathing, as the kids say. I kept reading, my coffee getting cold on the counter because I was too invested in this absolute masterpiece of delusion. I know the Instagram posts looked bad, but you have to understand, we were just having fun. There was nothing romantic about it. Mason was going through a tough time with Jordan, and I was there as a friend. Yes, I should have been more transparent with you, and for that, I apologize. But the way you've handled this has been completely over the top. Changing the locks? Really, Owen? That was cruel and unnecessary. Cruel and unnecessary. Let that sink in for a moment. I changed the locks after she lied to me, her parents, and everyone else about her whereabouts so she could hook up with her ex-boyfriend in Miami. And somehow, I was the one being cruel and unnecessary. The audacity was reaching levels previously thought impossible by modern science. But wait, it got better. Oh, it got so much better. I'm willing to forgive you for everything. The locks, the way you turned my family against me, sharing those private Instagram stories with my mother. I know you were hurt and you acted out of emotion, and I can understand that. If you're willing to work on us, I'm willing to put this behind us and move forward. We can go to couples therapy. We can rebuild the trust. But you have to meet me halfway here, Owen. You have to be willing to admit that you overreacted and that your actions were just as hurtful as mine. I literally had to sit down. Not because I was emotional or upset, but because I was laughing so hard that my legs stopped working properly. She was willing to forgive me. The woman who had orchestrated a multi-layered lie involving fake spa trips and secret vacations, who had posted photographic evidence of her infidelity on social media, who had gaslit everyone in her life, including her own mother. That woman was willing to forgive me for the crime of changing my locks and having common sense. All I'm asking for is a chance to explain everything in person, the letter continued. We've been together for 7 years, married for 5. That has to count for something, right? We've built a life together. We have history. I think we owe it to ourselves to at least try to work through this. I know you still love me, Owen. I can feel it. And I still love you, despite everything that's happened. Let's not throw away everything we've built over one mistake. One mistake. She'd called this whole circus one mistake, like she'd accidentally ordered the wrong coffee at Starbucks instead of planning and executing an elaborate scheme that would make Ocean's 11 look like amateur hour. The entire letter was a masterclass in rewriting history, a PhD thesis in deflection, a goddamn Pulitzer Prize-worthy piece of fiction masquerading as an apology. The letter ended with, "Please call me. Let's talk like adults. I'm staying at mom and dad's, but that situation is temporary and honestly pretty uncomfortable. I miss you. I miss us. Love, Sabrina." I read the whole thing 3 times, each read-through making me laugh harder than the last. By the 3rd time, I had tears streaming down my face from the sheer absurdity of it all. She'd really sat down, probably at Linda and Frank's kitchen table, and written this thinking it would work, thinking I'd read it and have some kind of epiphany like, "Oh, you know what? She's right. I did overreact by not wanting my wife to sleep with her ex-boyfriend. How silly of me." I took a photo of the letter, because this needed to be documented for posterity, and sent it to Linda with the caption, "Got mail today? You're going to want to sit down for this." Her reply came back in under a minute. "Oh, for the love of, what now?" I sent her the full text of the letter, typing it out word for word because she deserved to experience the full audacity in all its glory. Then I waited, watching those 3 little dots appear and disappear as Linda presumably tried to find words adequate to express her reaction. Finally, her response came through. She got that audacity from her grandmother. May it rest in pieces. "Owen, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened to the daughter I raised, but clearly she got knocked on the head somewhere and all common sense fell out. Please tell me you're not actually considering this insanity." Not even for a second, I texted back. "I'm mostly just impressed by the mental gymnastics. This could be an Olympic sport. She'd get a 10 from all the judges." Frank's reading it now. He just said, and I quote, "That girl couldn't find reality if it slapped her in the face with a GPS and a roadmap." He also wants to know if you're still coming to the Super Bowl party because he's got money riding on you being there. "Wouldn't miss it," I replied. "I'll bring beer and common sense, 2 things apparently in short supply around here." Linda sent back a string of laughing emojis followed by, "You're a good man, Owen." Too good for her, that's for damn sure. I'm framing this letter next to the Facebook post, creating a whole gallery wall of her bad decisions. I spent the rest of the morning doing exactly nothing productive, which felt absolutely glorious. No drama, no manipulation, no letters trying to convince me that Up was actually down and infidelity was just a minor oopsie that could be fixed with couples therapy and me admitting I was equally at fault for having the audacity to be upset about it. Around noon, my phone buzzed with an email notification from Sabrina, because apparently 1 attempt at contact per day wasn't enough. The subject line read, "Did you get my letter?" I deleted it without reading and went back to my documentary about the guy who'd started a cult in Oregon. At least that guy had the self-awareness to know he was running a scam. Sabrina genuinely seemed to believe her own bullshit, which was somehow more fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. That evening, Tessa called. "Ryan told me about the letter. Please tell me you laughed in her face." She slid it under the door, so I couldn't laugh in her face, but I did laugh at the letter itself. Multiple times. I'm thinking of getting it framed. Mom beat you to it. She's already ordered a frame on Amazon. Prime shipping, it'll be here tomorrow. Tessa paused. "You know she's been asking everyone in the family if they'll talk to you on her behalf, right? She tried to get me to make you see reason." I told her the only reason I saw was that she's completely delusional. How'd she take that? About as well as you'd expect. Lots of crying, lots of nobody understands me, lots of playing the victim. It's exhausting. Dad's already counting down the days until she has to find somewhere else to stay. He's got a literal countdown timer on his phone. It's set to go off with air horn sounds. I couldn't help but laugh. Your dad is my hero. He really is the best. Oh, and speaking of best, Mason's roommate posted an update. Apparently Mason didn't leave after the 48 hours, so the roommate changed the locks and put all his stuff on the curb. Someone stole his protein powder collection. The irony is chef's kiss. Beautiful, I said. Absolutely beautiful. Karma's working overtime this month. She's putting in hours, Tessa agreed. Anyway, I gotta go, but seriously, stay strong. Don't let her guilt trip you into anything. You deserve way better than this circus. After we hung up, I looked at the letter one more time, shook my head. and filed it away in a folder labeled Evidence for Divorce Proceedings. Then I ordered pizza, cracked open a beer, and settled in for a quiet Friday night. The Audacity letter had been entertaining, I'd give her that. But there was no way in hell I was responding. Some things were better left on read. 2 weeks. That's all it took for Sabrina's entire world to collapse like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. And the best part? I didn't have to do a damn thing except sit back with my popcorn and watch the universe handle its business with the efficiency of a German train schedule. The first domino to fall was her friends. Not surprising, really, considering most of them had been tagged, exposed, or implicated in the Great Miami Spa lie of 2025. Brianna, the one who'd apparently been Sabrina's main accomplice in the cover-up operation, got dumped by her boyfriend and subsequently decided that maintaining a friendship with Sabrina wasn't worth losing her entire social circle. She posted a public apology on Instagram about making poor choices in who I support and promptly blocked Sabrina on every platform known to mankind. The other spa girls followed suit like dominoes with anxiety disorders. One by one, they all distanced themselves, posting vague stories about cutting toxic people out of my life and choosing growth over drama. It was the social media equivalent of rats fleeing a sinking ship, except the rats had better PR teams and slightly more self-awareness. Tessa kept me updated on the fallout because apparently watching her sister's life implode was better entertainment than anything Netflix had to offer. She tried calling Brianna like 15 times yesterday. Tessa told me over the phone one afternoon. Brianna finally answered and told her to lose her number. Then she blocked her. Sabrina spent the next 2 hours crying in Mom's bathroom. Dad's thinking about installing a time limit on bathroom usage. Frank's really committed to that countdown timer thing, huh? Oh, he's thriving. He's extended it now. Got a whole app that tracks how many days until she has to leave. He checks it like 3 times a day. Mom says it's petty. I say it's hilarious. But the friend exodus was just the appetizer in this 5-course meal of consequences. The main course came when Sabrina got fired from her job at that marketing firm downtown. The one she was always complaining about, but never actually quit because the pay was decent and the health insurance was solid. Apparently, she'd shown up late multiple times during that first week back from Miami, which already had her on thin ice with her boss. But the real nail in the coffin was when she had a complete emotional breakdown in the break room on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, full-on sobbing, hyperventilating, couldn't form coherent sentences breakdown. In front of clients who were there for a meeting. Important clients. The kind who bring in 6-figure contracts and don't appreciate their pitch presentation being interrupted by someone wailing about how nobody understands her pain. Her boss, a woman named Patricia who I'd met exactly once at a company holiday party and who had struck me as the type who'd fire her own grandmother if quarterly numbers dipped, called her into her office that same day. 15 minutes later, Sabrina was packing her desk while security watched to make sure she didn't steal any office supplies. The petty part of me hoped she at least grabbed some good pens on the way out. She came home with a cardboard box of her stuff. Linda told me when she called with the update, crying about wrongful termination and hostile work environments. I asked her if crying in front of clients counted as hostile to the work environment. She didn't appreciate that question. How long did it take for Frank to check his countdown timer? Approximately 4 seconds. He's gotten faster. I think he's developing a sixth sense for when things get worse. But wait, there's more. Because this story wasn't done serving up piping hot plates of karma. Mason, the protein shake philosopher, the gym rat with a vocabulary consisting primarily of gains and grind, apparently decided that having Sabrina crash at his place wasn't the romantic reunion she'd probably fantasized about during those Miami nights. According to Ryan, who heard it from Mason's ex-roommate, who posted about it on Twitter because apparently everyone involved in this circus had zero concept of privacy, Mason let Sabrina stay exactly one night before his current roommate, the one who'd already kicked him out once and reluctantly let him come back, threatened to evict them both. Turns out landlords frown upon unauthorized tenants, especially when said unauthorized tenant spends most of her time crying loudly enough to disturb the neighbors. Mason, in a shocking display of self-preservation that I didn't know he was capable of, chose his housing situation over his rekindled romance. He told Sabrina she needed to find somewhere else to stay, drove her to a motel on the outskirts of town, One of those pay-by-the-week places with flickering neon signs and questionable stains on everything. And pieced out so fast, he probably left skid marks. The motel's called the Sunset Lodge. Tessa informed me, barely containing her laughter. I looked it up on Google. It has 2.3 stars, and the reviews mention bedbugs. Multiple reviews. Like, it's a recurring theme. Jesus, I said, though I wasn't sure if I felt bad or if this was just the natural conclusion to making spectacularly bad life choices. Don't feel bad, Tessa said, reading my mind. She did this to herself. Every single part of it. She could have just not cheated on you. She could have just not lied to everyone. She could have made literally any other choice at any point in this process. But no, she went full speed ahead into the iceberg, and now she's mad that the ship is sinking. The Sunset Lodge era lasted about a week before things got even more desperate. I know this because on a random Thursday afternoon, I got an email. Not a text, not a phone call. An email, which somehow made it even more pathetic. The subject line read, "Business proposal." Business proposal. Like we were colleagues discussing a merger instead of estranged spouses in the middle of a divorce that she'd caused by making decisions that would make a reality TV producer say, "Okay, that's too much drama. Let's dial it back." I opened it against my better judgment, and oh man, was it a journey. Owen. It started, "No dear, no hi." Just my name like she was writing a memo. I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to reach out regarding a financial matter. As you know, the past few weeks have been incredibly difficult for me. I've lost my job, my housing situation has become unstable, and I'm currently staying in temporary accommodations while I figure out my next steps. I've had a lot of time to reflect on everything that's happened, and I realize that while we both made mistakes in our marriage, the consequences I'm facing seem disproportionate to my actions. I had to pause there because the sheer audacity, which I was starting to think was her superpower, was breathtaking. Disproportionate consequences. She'd lied to everyone, cheated with her ex, lost her job from her own actions, and got kicked out by the guy she'd cheated with, and somehow the universe was being unfair to her. Since you're partially responsible for my current situation, had you not changed the locks and turned my family against me, I would have had a support system to fall back on. I think it's only fair that you help me get back on my feet. I'm not asking for much. Just a loan of $4,500 to cover first month's rent, security deposit, and some basic necessities while I look for new employment. I'm happy to sign a promissory note and pay you back once I'm financially stable again. I think this is a reasonable request given our history and your role in my current circumstances. A loan. She wanted a loan. $4,500. From me, the guy she cheated on. Because apparently I was partially responsible for her homelessness by having the audacity to not let her walk all over me. I sat there staring at my laptop screen for a solid minute, just processing the levels of delusion required to write that email. Then I clicked reply and typed exactly one word. No. Sent it. Closed my laptop. Made myself a sandwich. Best executive decision I'd made all week. The emails started rolling in after that. 8 of them over the next 2 days. Each one more desperate and unhinged than the last. The second one was apologetic. "I'm sorry if my first email came across wrong. I'm just really struggling here." The third one was guilt-trippy. "I can't believe you'd abandon me when I need help the most." The fourth one was manipulative. "Remember when you said you'd always be there for me?" By the fifth email, she'd moved into threats. "If you don't help me, I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action for spousal support and emotional distress." The sixth one claimed she'd already talked to a lawyer who said she had a very strong case. The seventh one said she'd be forced to tell everyone about what a terrible husband I'd been. I didn't read past number 3. Just watched the notifications pile up like digital garbage and felt absolutely nothing except maybe a mild sense of relief that I'd gotten out when I did. Later that day, my phone rang with Frank's number. I answered to the sound of him laughing so hard he was wheezing. "Owen," he managed between gasps. "Owen, you gotta." She just. Deep breaths. "Frank. What happened?" She asked us for money. More wheezing laughter. $4,500. Said it was for basic necessities and that we owed her because we destroyed her reputation with the Facebook post. I couldn't help but laugh along with him. Let me guess, Linda had thoughts? Oh, buddy, Linda had more than thoughts. She told Sabrina, and I quote, You can apply for a loan at the Bank of Reality, where the interest rate is your own consequences and the collateral is personal accountability. Frank, I love your wife. So do I, man. So do I. Anyway, the countdown timer is at 3 days now. I'm thinking about throwing a party when it hits 0. You're invited. 3 weeks after the Sunset Lodge email stopped coming, either because Sabrina had given up or because she'd finally found someone else to financially harass. I woke up one Saturday morning and realized something profound. I was actually, genuinely, no bullshit happy. Not the fake, everything's fine, happy you tell your coworkers when they ask how you're doing. Not the, I'm totally over it, happy you perform on social media. Real, authentic, wake up and don't immediately want to go back to sleep happy. The apartment looked completely different now, and I mean that in the best possible way. Those floral curtains Sabrina had insisted on, the ones that made the place look like a grandmother's sitting room had exploded, were gone, replaced with blackout blinds that actually served a purpose beyond aesthetic. The decorative pillows that existed solely to be thrown on the floor every night had been donated to Goodwill, along with most of the other useless decor she'd accumulated. And the piece de resistance? I'd bought myself a recliner. A big, comfortable, unapologetically masculine recliner that screamed single-man freedom in a voice that could be heard from space. I'd redecorated the whole place on a budget that would make IKEA proud, turning it from couple's apartment trying too hard to look like a magazine spread into actual human man lives here and enjoys it. Sports posters went up. My gaming setup came out of the closet where it had been banished. I bought a coffee table that was designed for function rather than Instagram photos. It was glorious. Linda called me mid-morning while I was making breakfast, actual breakfast, not just grabbing whatever was quickest because I was running late for something. Owen, sweetie, I wanted to invite you for Thanksgiving. We're doing the whole family thing at the beach house, and before you say anything, Sabrina will not be there. Frank and I made that very clear. I smiled at the phone, genuinely touched. Linda, I really appreciate that, but I think I'm going to sit this one out. Nothing personal. I just think maybe this year I need a drama-free holiday, you know? I completely understand, she said, and I could hear the warmth in her voice. But the offer stands. You're always welcome, Owen. Always. You were the best thing that ever happened to that girl, and she was too stupid to see it. Thanks, Linda. That means a lot. Really. And Owen, Frank wants me to remind you about the Super Bowl party in February. He's already got your chair picked out, not next to where Sabrina would be sitting, obviously, because again, she's not invited. I laughed. Tell Frank I wouldn't miss it for the world. After we hung up, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I went to a bookstore. An actual physical bookstore, not Amazon, not an e-reader, a real store with real books and that specific smell that somehow makes you feel smarter just by walking through the door. The place was called Chapter and Verse, this cozy little independent shop downtown that had somehow survived the digital apocalypse through sheer determination and really good coffee. I was browsing the mystery section because apparently my true crime obsession extended to fiction now, when I literally bumped into someone reaching for the same book. She was about my age, with dark curly hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing glasses and a sweatshirt from a university I didn't recognize, and when she looked up at me, she had this smile that was genuinely warm instead of that practiced customer service smile most people defaulted to. Sorry, we both said at the same time, then laughed. You go ahead, I said, gesturing to the book. Some detective novel I'd heard was good. No, you were here first, she insisted. Plus, I've already got like 6 books at home I haven't read yet. My TBR pile is judging me. Your to-be-read pile has opinions? Oh yeah, very judgmental. Especially the literary fiction ones. They looked down on my thriller collection. She was smiling wider now, and I realized I was smiling too, which felt foreign and nice at the same time. I'm Owen, I said, in what was possibly the smoothest introduction I'd managed in years, which wasn't saying much. Harper, she said, shaking my hand. Nice to meet you, Owen. You a regular here. First time, actually. Decided I needed to do something normal and bookstore-ish, as opposed to something abnormal and non-bookstore-ish. Exactly. I've had a weird few months. We ended up getting coffee at the little cafe in the bookstore, which turned into 2 hours of conversation that flowed easier than anything had in years. Harper was a graphic designer who worked from home, which she said was either a dream come true or a slow descent into madness, depending on the day. She was funny in this understated way, smart without being pretentious about it, and genuinely kind in a way that felt rare. Eventually, the conversation circled around to relationships. She mentioned an ex who'd moved across the country, and I found myself telling her about the Miami spa trip saga. Not in a bitter, angry way, but more like recounting an absurd sitcom plot that happened to be my actual life. When I got to the part about Sabrina telling me I was partially responsible for her homelessness, Harper nearly snorted her coffee. She actually had to put down her cup and cover her mouth, eyes watering from trying not to laugh jokes simultaneously. "I'm sorry," she managed, still giggling. "I'm not laughing at you being hurt. I'm laughing at the absolute audacity. She said you were the problem." Apparently, my biggest crime was owning a lease and having common sense. "The monsters among us," Harper said, shaking her head, "using logic and legal documents. How dare you?" A week later, after 3 more coffee dates that felt effortless in a way I'd forgotten relationships could be, I got a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me open it. "I'm in therapy now. I realize what I lost. You deserve better. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long moment, waiting for some kind of emotion to hit. Anger, sadness, satisfaction, something. But all I felt was nothing. Not in a numb way, but in a peaceful way. Like that chapter was closed, and I'd already moved on to a better book. I didn't reply, didn't block the number, didn't send some witty comeback, didn't forward it to Linda for commentary. Just set my phone down and went back to the movie I was watching with Harper, who'd come over for what was becoming our Saturday tradition. Because here's what I'd learned. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't payback. It's not elaborate schemes or public humiliation or making someone suffer the way they made you suffer. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is just peace. Peace, a good recliner, and maybe someone who laughs at your jokes and doesn't require a lie detector test before going on vacation. And honestly, that was more than enough.